let's be unrealistic for a few minutes. Because what if every person in the world practiced yoga and not just about 15%? I know what some of you are thinking, that would never happen. Maybe you're right, but every great movement in history started as an unrealistic idea. Flying was unrealistic. Putting a person on the moon was unrealistic. The internet was unrealistic. Even the idea that I could go from being diagnosed with lupus in 2009 to standing on a TEDx stage, sharing a message about world peace through inner peace, that once felt unrealistic too. So just for a few minutes, I invite you to suspend your disbelief and imagine with me. Imagine that every day when you wake up, before checking your phone, people like you took 10 minutes to breathe, maybe even 5 minutes. Imagine children learning emotional regulation before algebra. Imagine workplaces beginning meetings with 1 minute of mindful breath instead of rushing straight into stress. Imagine hospitals prescribing preventative wellness alongside medication. Imagine parks in every city filled with families practicing yoga and mindfulness together on weekends. Imagine if taking care of your nervous system became as normal as brushing your teeth. Would we still have disagreements? Absolutely. Yoga doesn't eliminate problems, it changes how we respond to them. And I believe that's one of the biggest misconceptions about peace. People think that peace means the absence of conflict. It doesn't. I invite you to consider that peace is the ability to remain grounded even in the middle of uncertainty, in the middle of conflict, because uncertainty, conflict, those things are inevitable. How we respond to them is a choice. For me, yoga didn't remove every challenge from my life. It didn't magically make lupus disappear overnight, and it didn't guarantee that every opportunity would come easily. What yoga gave me was something more valuable, so much more valuable. It gave me the ability to meet life's challenges without becoming consumed by them. And I wonder what would happen if more people had that skill. Think about the ripple effect. If someone is stressed every day for 10 years, eventually that stress shows up somewhere. It shows up in their blood pressure. It shows up in their sleep. It shows up in their relationships. It shows up in their productivity. It shows up in the healthcare system. It becomes a cost that all of society ends up paying. It shows up in war. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine millions of people learning how to regulate their stress before it becomes chronic. Imagine parents responding instead of reacting. Imagine teachers beginning the school day with breathing instead of chaos. Employees returning from lunch instead of feeling exhausted, feeling restored. Leaders making decisions from clarity instead of panic and pressure. Communities gathering for wellness instead of only gathering after tragedy. That's not just good for individuals. That's good for cities. That's good for businesses. That's good for healthcare. That's good for the economy. That's good for humanity. That's good for our future. And before someone says yoga can't solve every problem, I agree, it can't. But neither can medicine by itself. Neither can education by itself. Neither can government by itself. Real change happens when we stop asking one system to solve everything and start recognizing that every person has a role to play. I believe yoga teachers have one of the most important roles, not because they teach poses, not because they teach breath work, but because they teach people how to pause. They teach people how to recognize self, how to regulate self, how to breathe, how to become less reactive, how to reconnect with themselves. Those are leadership skills. Those are life skills. Those are peace building skills. This is why my mission has become so much bigger than yoga. I'm not trying to convince the entire world to become yoga teachers. I'm endeavoring to create a world where more people know how to regulate themselves before reacting to each other. Because I honestly believe that world will look very different. Would there still be challenges? Yeah, of course. But maybe we listen a little longer. Maybe we judge a little less. Maybe we'd forgive a little faster. Maybe we'd make decisions with a little more wisdom and a little less fear. Maybe we remember that before we're different people, we're different countries, we're different cultures, we're different opinions, we're different religions, we're all human beings working on ourselves, working towards our peace. So yes, maybe this conversation is unrealistic, or maybe it's simply a version of what's possible. Every great change begins with someone willing to imagine a different future. And that's exactly what I'm committed to do, what my team is committed to do, and what I invite you to commit to do. Our mission is to spread world peace through inner peace, because it's not easy, because it's worth working towards. If you're a yoga teacher, keep doing it. If you're an aspiring yoga teacher, keep studying. If you're a leader making a difference in the community, keep going. And if you'd like to join our mission, keep following along. I invite you to subscribe. If you'd like to study how we're making this tangible and how yoga can become a vehicle for leadership, opportunity, and lasting impact without having to be distracted for 40 hours a week, I invite you to study the Yoga Career Blueprint. And you can show up on Sunday evening. The details are in the captions. All you need is to bring your notes, your questions, and your vision to change the world, because changing the world always starts with someone willing to imagine that it can change. I'll see you in class. Peace.